The USS Washington is now headed from Japan to the Middle East to replace the Lincoln, so those troops and sailors can go home. But that is raising concerns about a security hole in the Pacific. At the same time, President Trump has ordered a scale back in joint U.S.-South Korea military drills, citing his very good relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un and South Korea's refusal to help with Iran.
When I called recently the president of South Korea, who I like, I think he's very nice actually, but I called him, I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no thanks. And I said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong Un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange.
All right, joining me now for everything on Asia and the Middle East, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton, a NewsNation senior national correspondent, security contributor, and Gordon Chang, a world-renowned expert on China and North Korea, and the author of Plan Red, China's project to destroy America. Gordon, I'm going to start with you. What do you make of President Trump calling North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un, quote, unthreatening and respectful, and boasting of his, quote, very good relationship with Kim?
Elizabeth, I'm concerned about that because just last week we learned that North Korean troops crossed the military demarcation line in the demilitarized zone. In other words, North Korean troops penetrated into South Korea. And that is by no means the only hostile act the North Korea has been engaged in the last several months. So we need to scale up those exercises, not scale them down, because we need to maintain deterrence, and we cannot have a miscalculation in an already volatile area.
Yeah, North Korea is a sworn ally of Russia. They're sending soldiers to fight alongside Russian soldiers in the Ukraine war. Why is President Trump all of a sudden, out of the blue, talking about Kim Jong Un again and calling him his very good friend, do you think?
I think that he's never liked the military exercises we have with South Korea. As a matter of fact, in his Truth Social posting yesterday, he said that he did not want those exercises at all. That really would be a mistake. But clearly, President Trump wants to talk to Kim Jong Un for a fourth time. He wants to see if he can pry the North Koreans away from the Chinese and Russians. He has a lot of big ideas, and I guess that he believes that now's the time to start executing on them. But now isn't. We've got a lot of troubles elsewhere in the world. We need to solve them, especially Iran, but also in Venezuela and Cuba. And I hope that we deal with those first before tackling another problem in North Korea.
General, the president is moving the USS George Washington out of Asia and into the Middle East, reportedly to relieve the USS Lincoln, where sailors' families have said many are suffering from this record-long deployment. But this leaves no aircraft carriers in Asia, not one, where there are two countries hostile to America, China and North Korea.
Well, first off, the USS Lincoln and the entire Carrier Strike Group have done a remarkable job with regard to Operation Epic Fury and so forth. And as I believe on day 269, and you're right, the United States Navy is going to move the George Washington into the CENTCOM region, and then the Lincoln will be able to go home finally. But nonetheless, this is not precedent setting. We've had, a gap of carriers in the Pacific region. We've had the gap of carriers in other regions as well. And it's a risk that obviously General Dan Keane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has advised the president. We've got plenty of air power and capabilities. It goes back to what Gordon was talking about. This is absolutely the wrong time, however, to really look at trying to back off of any type of long-standing, exercises and support to South Korea, a very strong ally of the United States. All the while, North Korea is modernizing their intercontinental ballistic missile capability. They're pursuing sub-launch ballistic missile capabilities. They're still pursuing, additional nuclear weapons and so forth. But I think it's a good call from the United States and certainly the national security team to put the Washington in the
and relieve the Lincoln.
Relieve the Lincoln, but keep two carrier strike groups there along with plenty of air power to give the president a wide range of military options should this economic pressure, fall short in terms of compelling the regime to the negotiating table.
I want to get back to you, General, in the Middle East in just a second, but Gordon, does moving the Washington out of the Pacific. Does this create an opening for China? Or did these remarks about my good pal Kim Jong Un?
Well, it does create an opening, but fortunately, Xi Jinping doesn't trust his generals and admirals. And so it's unlikely, in my view, that he would launch hostilities against, for instance, the main island of Taiwan. But what is extremely concerning, though, is that Xi Jinping can easily back into a confrontation with the provocative activities that we see all the time, not only against Taiwan, but also against the Philippines at Scarborough Shoal and against the Japanese at the islands that the Japanese call the Senkakus. If one of those incidents goes wrong, this can spiral up into a war very fast and consume the entire region for various reasons. So I worry about that risk. And not having a carrier in the region certainly gives the Chinese ideas that if there's something does go wrong, they can do something awful.
General, the president again denied today that U.S. weapons stockpiles are running low. But this is after there have been multiple reports by multiple outlets quoting multiple military sources as saying Patriot missiles, for example, are dangerously depleted. He was careful. He was like, we have a lot of other mid-range things. The Patriot missiles are exquisitely, they're an amazing weapon, but very, very expensive and very difficult and time-consuming to build.
That's true. And I believe, again, going back to General Kane as well as Admiral Cooper, I believe Admiral Cooper, as the commander of U.S. Central Command, has all the military capabilities he needs. And if we go back to major combat operations against the regime, the risk that's taken is in other theaters, specifically in the European theater and also in the Pacific as well. It comes down to a zero-sum game in terms of capabilities that we've got. But this has been a long-standing issue with regard to military readiness. Not necessarily just specifically with Patriot and THAAD, but other U.S. military capabilities from a variety of Congresses and administrations. But again, though, I think the challenge is, as you mentioned, operationally, yes, but there's also a defense industrial base, a U.S. defense industrial base challenge that we have. It takes 2 years to produce a Patriot missile and several millions of dollars and so forth. And so the effort now, and I think the administration is trying to address this, is move that timeline to the left. And we'll see, but we're still years away from being able to do that. But yeah, there is assumed risk here by maintaining capabilities to defend our men and women in uniform, specifically in the Central Command region.
Yeah, all this, of course, as we hear from Pentagon Chief Hegseth, that this naval blockade on Iran could continue indefinitely. It's a lot of resources at work right now. General Newton, Gordon Chang, always really great to talk with both of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.